It's a great place, if you watch the grass on the road, to let it rip. All right, welcome everybody. This is Richard Worsham with Janus Motorcycles. I'll be taking out 2 of our new 450s with Jordan Swartzendruber here. We're going to be taking a ride and just talking about each of these motorcycles and just kind of talking about how they feel and a little bit about the experience of the ride and a little bit more story on the development of the bikes. So I'm sitting on, well, first of all, Jordan is sitting on, as you can see over here, JM000. That is the first production prototype, and I am on, well, there's no number plate on this one, but I'm on the second production prototype. And just talk about what that actually means. A production prototype, that doesn't mean that these are early design iterations. These are almost identical motorcycles to what the production version, like the first customer will be receiving. What it means is that what these bikes are for is for us to ride and test and see what needs improvement, see what works, what doesn't work, little things like that. If there's just anything that we want to improve on or learn more about. So the first production prototype here came out in, Jordan, when did we actually get this thing rolling? It was late spring, February, March. Yeah, because I took it out to Tucson and put hundreds of miles on it out there, and kind of got the first testing done. And then this is the second production prototype came out, a couple of months ago? we can't even remember. But and then we just, as you've seen in some of our update videos recently, we just had the third production prototype coming out. The third production prototype is the closest to what the production bike will look like. Actually, it will be identical to the production bike. But the differences are are tiny little differences, and they just these bikes again give us an opportunity to test out the bikes and put miles on them. So that's what we mean when we say a prototype. Yeah, let's get rolling.
All right.
One of the nice things about a fuel injected motorcycle is there's no choke. So you just hit that button and there it goes. And no matter what elevation you're at, it still does the same thing. I took up 000 up Mount Lemmon outside of Tucson, which is over 8,000 feet, and I could not notice any difference in the performance, so it's pretty cool. Okay, well, we're going to head out on our usual, if you're a long-time viewer, you will recognize this route, our usual test loop. Pretty cool feeling, yeah. Let's get my mirrors adjusted here, and we're going to take a right. This is Lincoln Avenue, the Lincoln Highway. And boy, do these things pull. You can definitely get a speeding ticket on one of these things if you think you can't get on 250. And with the full suspension, railroad crossings like this are just as smooth as butter. I'm just sitting down on the seat. And here we'll take a left. And that single cylinder you can really lug. You can see how it's pretty low RPMs there, although the tach on this one is not functioning. Some of the testing we do on these bikes is pretty brutal. have an event coming up. We're actually going to be at the Chicago Progressive Show coming up here. What is the date of that? Is that the 28th? 20th through the 22nd. Yeah, that's a oh, that's right. Yeah, it's coming up pretty quick. Yeah, that's an outdoor event. They're doing it as an outdoor event because of pandemic concerns. So it'll be outdoors, and I think it's actually on a farm, is what I've heard. And we will have a booth there, and we'll have a 450 or maybe two there, as well as some of our 250s. So please, if you're in the Chicago area and you want to check out either a 450 or a 250, that's a really good chance to do so. You'll get to meet Mitch and Hannah, and actually I think Jordan will be there, among others, and they'll be talking about the bikes, handing out literature, and showing them off. Yeah, I went to the, was it Cleveland? Where was the show this spring? And that was a lot of fun. They're just getting to see all the bikes, and actually getting to see the Janus against all the other motorcycles as well, just the kind of comparison. It was really fun to be there with KTM and Honda and all the big names. It really was a neat experience. So as you can see, we're we are just zipping along here. RPMs are extremely low. I'm doing 50 miles an hour. I probably should shift down a little bit on this bike, but it can really handle lower RPMs. It's a big old single and has plenty of torque, and you can kind of stick around in any gear you want, but it's got more than enough gears and the gearing for to be able to pull higher speeds than the 250. And here yeah. But boy, does this thing, when I think about riding this bike, or when I'm riding it, the main sensation that I talk about or I feel is just the way it floats. It really floats along. The handling is really smooth. You can, like I've done before with the 250, you can take your hands off the handlebars. It's extremely stable. I got a downshift now. And the full suspension just lets this thing, I mean, I really do feel like I'm just kind of like floating along over the road in a way that a lighter weight bike just isn't capable of doing. You know, you have more mass on a big bike like this. One of the reasons a big Honda Goldwing is so smooth is that the thing weighs almost 1,000 pounds, and it has all this inertia in it that lets it smooth. The shocks can move and keep it really smooth. And here we come in. This is our classic. If you've seen our videos, we've gotten tons of videos out here on this wonderful flat stretch. It's a great place, if you watch the grass on the road, to let it rip. And I'm a bigger guy, you know, 6'6", 230 pounds, and I can get this thing with a little bit of clearance well over 85 miles an hour. This is a bit bumpy along here, so I'm keeping it a little slower. One thing you'll notice on this bike compared to the 250 is you're just going a lot faster. There's more wind resistance, so you're just I think it was Tom Neal in his recent blog post on kind of comparing the 450 to the 250. He said that when you're on the bike, almost the only thing, you know, if it's a smooth road, the only thing that really clues you into that it's a different bike in some ways from the 250 is the fact that it has two instruments. You know, it is a little smoother with the full suspension, but it really is as nimble and as lightweight feeling once you're on the road as the 250. It just has a little bit more stability, which, you know, it has good and bad things about that. You know, there's something wonderfully flickable about the 250 line, and there's something wonderfully stable and more kind of a planted feel you have on the 450. Do you want to trade off, Jordan, or stay on the same bikes? Let's trade off here. So you'll notice actually on this bike the tachometer and speedometer are a little different. This is the very first set we had from MMB, who's our German supplier. So these are the versions that are just their stock version. Over on Jordan's bike, that's the specific design. That's actually the first iteration of the design for us. The latest version has the rev limit, all that stuff on there. And we will be installing that on the third production prototype shortly to put it through its paces. Shall we? We shall, indeed. One nice thing about the 450 that we were able to do with this bike is we have a Duro is our supplier of tires. Their U.S. base is down in Alabama, I believe, or Georgia, I can't remember. And these tires are fantastic. They're a road tire. They're actually the same tire that Ural uses on their sidecar rigs, but they are a much more kind of traditional, like they're kind of what everybody's going for. Whoops. On the watch out for the buggy. They're kind of what everybody's going for, I think, with the knobby tire look. They have a really aggressive look, and they really do handle not like a full-on knobby, but like a dual sport tire on gravel. So you can take this bike on gravel, and certainly with the full suspension, it offers a better experience that way. But they're a great tire. They look real, to me, they look kind of like a 1940s or 50s stock motorcycle tire, just that kind of rugged look. So I love the fact that we can offer these. They're a 3.5 in the front and a 4 in the back, so they're a ½ inch wider on both front and back than the 250. So again, a little more stability and a little more of a dual purpose. I'm not going to call it a dual sport tire, but it's a tire that can handle gravel. Yeah. Jordan, do you want to hop on 4, go out that way a little bit, or is it? Yeah, you want to lead this one so I can get shots of you? Oh, it's so nice. And you get up to 60 miles an hour and you got another gear. It's great. And as a larger rider, as I mentioned before, I can't quite get the same speed out of every bike, including my KLR as a more average size rider. And on the 250, you know, 65 is about the max speed I can get with the wind resistance and the extra weight. So it really is pulling when I'm doing a long distance, like a Saddle Store 1000, which is 1,000 miles in 24 hours. I'm basically pinning it at 8,000 RPM the whole way, which they do it just fine. But most people with a 250 are targeting more of that 55, 60 mile an hour lower RPM riding. And listen to that rumble as they downshift. I love it. Oh. Sure. Yeah. And you barely have to twist that throttle to get this thing right up to 45 miles an hour. On the 250, I usually find myself pretty much opening the throttle all the way, which is a lot of fun. I mean, the old adage of it's more fun to ride a slow bike fast than a fast bike slow is certainly true on the 250, but the 450 is not a fast bike, you know. It still preserves that character of an approachable, easy to ride bike. It just has a little more oomph. You can get on the highway and not feel like you're getting overtaken all the time. It's still, but I would, it's completely in our wheelhouse of being not a fast bike, not super high horsepower. This is about a 30 horsepower motorcycle. So to most people, that's very low horsepower. And that's really, you know, you see this big old feather on the side of the fuel tank. Jordan has the Deluxe tank. I've got the basic on this bike. And that feather is kind of us kind of really doubling down on the idea of a feather lightweight, low displacement motorcycle, which is why we do what we do. It's why I got into motorcycles. It's through old vintage two-strokes, 50 cc's and smaller bikes, and that's what we do. So the 450 is friends and family ask me, you know, are you selling out to a bigger bike when you make this 450? And I said, absolutely not. To most people that, you know, are used to 1800 cc bikes, this is still just like not much different than that 50 that we started off with. That's right. You know, it's people joke about the tail of the dragon, which is more up in the mountains than where Tom is, but you can basically go as fast on any bike on that road as, you know, the big fast bikes can't go much faster than the little bikes if they handle well. And that's one thing that Janus does, is that they're nimble, they're quick in the corners. They certainly don't have the top end speed, but on those kind of roads, this is a heck of a lot more fun for most people than a huge bike. So, you know, everybody has their own taste, but we feel like this is a great way to just enjoy twisty roads. I wish we had more of them out here in Indiana. So a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, we had a booth at the Elkhart County Fair, which is the largest county fair. It's a 4-H fair, I think, in the country. And we actually won, just to toot our own horn, we won the best booth award. But that is up here. We'll be passing it on our left. It's a lot of fun. They do some years. This year they didn't. They do flat track races, and you get to see all the animals and that very, very Midwestern experience. There you have it in the flesh. You can see that rear suspension on Jordan's bike moving as he goes over the bumps, just like an old Vincent. The Cantilever Suspension, which just works fantastically. Not only does it work really well, but it's actually far more rigid than a traditional, just like a fork style suspension. It's completely triangulated. It's a very rigid design. And very comfortable, especially with the Sergeant seat. You can see Jordan's got the Sergeant seat there, the brown leather, which we worked very carefully to match to our saddle bags. And that seat is, boy, I've done a lot of 1,000 miles in 24 long rides, and I wish I had had that seat when I did it. It would make a big difference. There's the fairground. Now, if you're familiar with the test ride, if you've ever been to a Discovery Day, this is the last leg coming back into Goshen here. If you've been on one of our demo rides, we often take this route. And as often happens in the town of Goshen, you get blocked by a train. So it looks like we'll have a little extra time here. So yeah, I mentioned Jordan has the Deluxe tank. So this is, we kind of call it the Jay Leno color scheme. It's the bike we took on his show last year. It's olive drab with maroon pinstripe. There we go. And this has the Deluxe fuel tank, which is the polished reveal. That is the aluminum of that fuel tank showing. And then over here we have we call the basic tank. It's actually kind of, I mean, I like both of them. This is really practical. It it wears well. If you're not a guy who polishes your bike every day, this might be a better option. This bike just looks so stunning though. So I don't know which one I could make my mind up to choose. Another thing that we haven't mentioned on these bikes is the braking. You know, we have our brakes on the 450 are made by Brembo, which is a basically probably the preeminent brake maker in the world for anything, cars or motorcycles. And these things stop on a dime. Tom Neal mentioned in his blog that it doesn't have ABS, and he likes that. You know, he says he's not an anti-ABS, but these brakes they're appropriate for the kind of motorcycle. It's a simple system, but boy, can they stop. Yeah, not only do they have the Brembo brakes, but they are larger rotors as well. So we have 280 millimeter front rotor now, up from the 250. Nope, they want to go around. Love that rumble of the exhaust. One thing we can't wait to do is get fishtail exhaust on these things. We don't offer that currently, but that will be fun. I love the way that it changes the exhaust note on the 250. I think it'll be fantastic on this. Well, we'll be featuring the third production prototype pretty soon on a ride, I think. Or rolling, that is. But we figured this time we'd show off these bikes on the road. Yeah, we're basically, overall, we're just we're actually getting started on production. So we've got our first batch of all the frame components in, and Charlie and Colin are digging into getting that process started. So all of basically the rest of this month in September we'll be getting a head start on that, so that we can really jump into full production, well, actually assembly in October. So everybody is in the shop is excited about that. The other thing on this is I also have black powder coated bars. It's definitely a different look. We're right next door to the police station, so you don't want to do too much. No. And here we are. And there's Jordan's Phoenix 250, number 20.